Hello and welcome to the Nashville Daily Podcast. I'm Stuart Deming.
And I'm Aaron Pennington.
Flights canceled, lines longer than the wait to get into Opry Mills during the holidays, and no one answering their customer service phone lines.
This was Southwest Airlines in Nashville over the past 10 days, and we were right in the middle of it.
We'll talk about all of this and more on Nashville Daily.
Happy New Year, Nashville, and everybody else who is watching from elsewhere in Nashville. Comment below if you're not watching from Nashville, where you are watching or listening from. If you're listening, go to YouTube and let us know in the comments where you are now watching from.
I think the furthest person away, we should send them a sticker.
Okay, maybe send you a sticker and a few more things that we've got up our sleeves. But yeah, so let us know where you watching from, and don't make it up.
Yeah, don't make it up. Don't say you're in
don't say Russia, because
I'll send it to Russia.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's going to get there.
Somebody in Russia is going to be very happy if it's not the person who's commenting.
They're going to get a nice little sticker, and they're going to be like, dang, what am I going to do with this?
All right, before we get into the craziness that was the Southwest debacle, the worst they've ever had, according to their CEO, the worst he's ever seen, today's episode is brought to you by Brad Reynolds over at thinkbrad.com. If you are looking to, if 2023 is your year, I feel like I'm going to say 2022 a lot still, so correct me if I do, because that's just going to be out of habit. But if 2023 is your year to get in a new home in Nashville, or to sell your home and upgrade, or any one of those combinations, talk to Brad, and you can reach him over at thinkbrad.com. Call or text Brad at 615-856-3270. And make sure, if you're thinking Nashville, you think Brad.
All right, so the holiday season was an interesting time here in Middle Tennessee. We had a huge storm that came through. It wasn't really that big. We didn't get that much snow, and the roads weren't really that bad.
It wasn't that bad, but it was freaking cold.
It was cold. It was on average, it was like 8 degrees in Nashville for a day or two, maybe 24-hour period.
Yeah.
What's really interesting is TVA was doing, throughout the state of Tennessee, rolling blackouts. And they were saying initially, especially with the cold, they're saying that the grid has never experienced this much power usage or wattage usage in the history of TVA, which is about 90 years old or so.
Wow.
But throughout the entire state, they're doing these rolling blackouts. But what was really interesting is the day that they announced the rolling blackouts.
The first
day they announced rolling blackouts. News Channel 5 sent a little push notification saying, hey, rolling blackouts. And I'm like, why didn't they announce this 2 weeks ago that this could happen?
So this was very interesting because I saw on Facebook in the East Nashville page, the East Nashville Facebook group, that rolling blackouts.
That's an interesting place to be.
That's the first place where you'll see and hear about many things here in Nashville. But in that page, somebody was talking about rolling blackouts, and somebody had announced on there. I don't know if they had inside information with TVA. I don't know what it was, that rolling blackouts with TVA were happening right now. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. And so I unplugged everything that was important to me. And I then went on to TVA's website, Twitter, NES's website and Twitter. Nothing there. Some other power companies around Middle Tennessee had put out statements on their Twitter, but not NES, not TVA. And so it was very interesting. And then I texted you and I was like, hey, rolling blackouts are coming, but there's no information on it yet that's public for Nashville, but it's already happening, which is very, very interesting. Something like that information needs to get out there
as fast
as possible.
Yeah.
It was slow as molasses.
And it was. And so you sent me that text message, and as soon as the text message came through, my power went off. So before, So before News Channel 5 did their push notification, my power went off. And TVA and NES and all of these people are like, oh, yeah, your power is just going to be off for 15 minutes. Well, 15 minutes passed. and another 15 minutes passed, and another 15 minutes passed.
Oh, no.
Altogether, I was without power for almost 6 hours.
Oh, my gosh. I remember you saying that. Was it yours? Do you think yours was a rolling blackout or an actual power outage?
It was a powder
outage. I was out of powder.
I was out of powder, face powder. No, it was a power outage. And the reason for that is eventually my wife and I were just like, okay, we need to leave. Like, it's getting cold in the house.
Yeah.
I believe the house, before the blackouts, I usually keep my house around 67, 68.
Yeah.
Maybe even a little bit cooler. And it got down to probably in the low 40s in the house in that time period. It was getting cold to the point where I'm sitting on the couch and I could see my breath, and I'm like, all right, it's time for us to leave.
Everybody knows if Stuart puts on pants, it's too cold. Did you put on pants?
So I walked outside initially with flip-flops and shorts. And I'm like, I can't do this. And so I put on wool socks.
Oh, you know it's getting too cold.
Because as soon as the power went off, I'm just like, okay, I need to go check to see if it's just my breaker. I need to check if my air conditioning is overwhelming my personal system.
Yeah, sure.
But everyone in my neighborhood didn't have power. And what's interesting is I'm on the main grid and not on the street grid. And so it's a really interesting dynamic. But we started driving around the Donaldson area, and all of the red lights are out. And I'm like, okay, so this is a community-wide blackout for an approximate amount of time. And that's not even the worst of it. So as soon as we get to the location we were going, the cameras just turned on, and all the power turned on. And I'm like, okay. But if I didn't leave the house, the power would have not turned on.
Yeah. It's like when you're at a restaurant, if you leave to go to the bathroom or something, your food will come to your table.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
But there was people in South Nashville towards Antioch and other parts of Nashville that didn't have power for 24 to almost 48 hours in some of the neighborhoods throughout Nashville.
I did hear that we had one death in Nashville from the
cold,
from the cold and all of this stuff. And even in that South Nashville area, over 1 million gallons of water were released onto the streets because of a water main break.
Well, so there's a water main break there, and then there was a water main break underneath the Cumberland River, or on the bottom of the Cumberland River.
Oh, yeah, I remember
affected
that.
all the pressure in East Nashville. And then even on Sunday, when the power was restored and the weather was getting back up, not Sunday, Saturday, I was driving around, and I reported to Metro Water 2 water breaks.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, yeah, it's just going to take them about 6 hours to get to it. It's already been reported. And I'm just like, you're just going to let the water just leak everywhere,
guess so.
and then freeze the roads. Yeah. So it was an interesting.
They should have said. They should have just had a long pause and go, yes. That's exactly what we're gonna do.
It was an interesting experience, and have I gone out and bought a generator? You let me know in the comments.
You let me know why there's one less generator at Home Depot.
You let me know why I'm dropping some money at Home Depot.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the good. We're going to get to Southwest here in a bit because that's going to be the juicy stuff. Speaking of juicy stuff, you had some good food.
Yes,
recently over this break. Let's talk just a little bit about maybe one of the most interesting things that you had during the holiday break.
I had a lot. I had hot chicken multiple times. I had duck and waffles. I've had a lot. But I'm going to focus in on this restaurant down in Franklin. This is Gray's on Main. It's one of my favorite restaurants in all of Franklin.
Previous home to your favorite Brussels sprouts.
Yes.
Before
Mid-South Cafe?
Mid-South Cafe, yeah.
Or not Mid-South Cafe. Midtown Cafe.
Yeah.
Where's Mid-South Cafe? I don't know.
I don't know.
But Gray's on Main, they have amazing food. One thing that really stands out to me is they have these pimento fried cheese balls. And so it's this fried ball
sounds really good.
Breading with pimento cheese inside. And then I had their Caesar salad, and I got a side of hot chicken instead of grilled chicken. I'm like, can I get the chicken that's hot, like hot Nashville hot chicken? And they're like, yes. And so it came out in this like big piece. It was like 4 inches in diameter, and it was like a fried.
Was it boneless?
Yes, it was boneless.
Wow.
It was like a fried fried chicken.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I put it with the Caesar salad. It was remarkable, fantastic.
That's amazing. Did it go well with like the Caesar dressing and everything?
Yeah. The thing about Gray's hot chicken is it kind of reminds me of Wild Horse Saloon's hot chicken, where
a little sweet.
It has a little bit of sweetness to it. It's not overwhelming in the spice standpoint.
Yeah. It allows all the flavor to come through without an overwhelming amount of hot.
Yeah, and so And then I had Hattie B's the next day. And I was trying a sample of somebody's hot, and it tasted like shut the cluck up. And I'm like, oh wow, this is spicy.
Was that their first time?
It was their first time, and
my gosh,
they were crying. And so it was
take me home.
Yeah, it was an interesting experience because the hot chicken at Gray's was like perfect, but the hot chicken at Hattie B's, my personal hot chicken I got medium, was fantastic, but the hot tasted like shut the cluck up.
It was that next level.
Yep.
Yeah. Dang. I'll talk just briefly. So I was in the airport. I'll talk about my airport experience, but while I was in there, I am just amazed because it had been a year since I went into the airport prior, into Terminal C.
Yep, it's amazing.
Which is Southwest's primary terminal, and the amount of local stuff in there is incredible. Tennessee Whiskey Trail has 3 establishments in there, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've really upped their game. There's so much to offer inside of there. 8th and Rose, just in Terminal C, I think has 2 coffee shops in Terminal C,
and they have one
or maybe in D.
Yeah,
so one in C, one in D.
D.
Actually, I had enough time to go to both.
And there's a burrito. You had enough time to go to both.
Oh yeah. That was just before any of the delays. I got there early, and so got to check out everything, and it was very cool to see all the local stuff in there. Tailgate was in there. Tailgate is kind of a bar setup, so you'd like sit at a bar and you get it, and that was actually full most of the time, so I didn't go there. I actually went to Shake Shack in the airport, and it was absolutely incredible. I also went to 8th and Roast at the airport and got a coffee. Their coffee's super caffeinated, like Caliber's is. So that was really good. Expensive, but good. But Southwest may be reimbursing for all of the fun that I had over the break.
Yeah, we'll talk about that here in a minute. But first we have to talk about our sponsor, Bowtie Barber Club, located in Donaldson, Tennessee. They are the best barbershop in the city of Nashville. You can book your haircut, your beard trim, your nose wax, your ears wax, and other services at bowtiebarberclub.com.
Yeah, I'll tell you. So the person who's been working on my hair, it's literally, I can't, with how thick my hair is, I can't go anywhere without wearing a hat if I don't have to, do stuff to my hair, gel, comb, all that stuff. If I don't do that, I put on a hat just because my hair is too thick. Well, what Ruth Ann over at Bowtie Barber Club, give her a shout, has done to my hair, and it's basically fixed feels like a 10-year problem of my hair, and I can just walk out of bed now and just run my fingers through it a little bit.
Well, it's all based on the shape of your head.
Yeah, and she's figured it out where no other barber's been able to figure it out, and I can walk out of bed, not have to, shower, comb, gel my hair and everything to have good-looking hair straight out of bed. So it's really cool, and give them a shout over at bowtiebarberclub.com. Go visit them in the Donaldson area.
So I want to talk about my airport experience before we get started with your airport experience. Over the last few weeks, I've had a few rental cars, and unfortunately, they were scheduled for pickup at the airport. And
can I take a pretty good guess, because of all the Southwest cancellations, that
it wasn't because of the Southwest cancellations, just because the airport was so busy.
Oh, I was about to say, I wondered if they even had rental cars available, even though they promised you one.
They did. So I'll tell a little story real quick about my friend and his daughter trying to fly out of Nashville before we get to your story as well. And so the last few weeks, I've gone to the airport probably 6 times, which is a disaster.
Picking up rental cars.
You've been to the airport like 6 times.
Yep.
But for different reasons. And so I had to pick up rental cars. Thankfully, because we pre-booked in advance, like months and months and months, I get priority over everyone else.
Oh, that's very
so
nice.
Thankfully, I've been able to get a car every single time.
And thankfully, they've honored it, which is great.
Yep. And but what's interesting is for me to get to the rental car portion, it takes me 45 minutes.
Oh, because you have to go through all the normal lines of somebody like picking up somebody in arrivals or something.
Pretty
or
much,
departures or that area.
I just have to find a way to get dropped off, and I've found some insights, and I'm not going to reveal those. But Yeah, the one time last week, it took me 45 minutes to get into the airport to pick up a rental car.
Yeah.
And so that's been my experience. But my friend's experience was they had a Southwest flight canceled, and they tried getting a rental car. Nothing was available throughout the entire city. The Enterprise in Franklin had 30 cars in inventory, and they had 1,100 reservations.
I'm sorry. 30 rental cars and 1,100
reservations.
Oh my gosh.
And the people that booked months ahead of time have priority. And so it's it's just a really interesting dynamic. And I'm glad I was I'm glad I was able to get the rental car I was.
Yeah.
Even though I had to wait 45 minutes to get to it.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Usually
it's
it's like
better
a
than not getting
thing.
it. Yeah. Was it because just so many people were in line?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. That's
And not in line in the physical sense, but in the car. Like the line of the cars were so bad, not the people.
Wow.
There is one guy I do want to compliment, though, at Alamo. I believe his name is Herman. He has done an incredible job. He's very hospitable. He says, with every customer, he's like, I'm going to give you what your heart desires. And he did a really good job. So a really good job. And
my heart desires you now, Herman.
Yeah. To give me rental cars. All right, Aaron, you had a whole story.
So essentially everything that you've seen on the news about Southwest, minus a few of the severe horror stories I experienced during the holiday season. So this includes flights canceled, bags not knowing where they are, and everything like that. So I was supposed to fly out to Kansas City on Christmas Day that evening. So I drove from Kentucky to Nashville Christmas morning. So I was with my family up in Kentucky. Drove to Nashville Christmas morning to make sure there's nothing on the road that was going to keep me from getting to Nashville or getting on the flight. Got to the airport about 3 hours early because it's holiday season. You really never know what's going to happen. It was not busy at all in there. Very easy getting through the lines at security, everything like that. But our flight kept getting pushed back to, I think our flight time was 5:10. It kept getting pushed back. Every 30 minutes, it got delayed another 30 minutes until it hit about 7:30. We got about 30 minutes, what boarding time is.
Multiple gate changes, though, too, right?
No, we did not.
Okay, I'm confusing other stories.
Yeah, no. So we went over to our gates, and they announced to us, hey, everything's ready. We just don't have a captain. We have a crew and we have a pilot. We just don't have a captain. They said, we're waiting on a captain. I said, okay, cool. So that's why I kept getting delayed is one, our plane wasn't even there for a while. Our plane was still in Chicago when the flight was supposed to take off originally. Then it got there, everybody deboarded, and they're now looking for a captain. And they about 15, 20 minutes later, they said, everybody, this flight's canceled. We can't find a captain. Flight's canceled. You can go to the gate or call this 1-800 number and for your arrangement. So immediately get in Southwest lines. But guess what? You
texted me at 8:30, and you're like, hey, we're out here by 10, can you still pick me up?
Yeah, and so we got in line at about maybe 7:45 or so.
Okay.
And we did not get out of line until maybe 10:30, 10:45 of that Southwest line. And there are 8 Southwest ticket agents in that thing. These lines did not move. We were in these lines for 3 hours. Some people were in line for 5 hours. And we luckily got we got tickets for a flight that was supposed to leave at about 10:50. And by that time, it was about 10:50. And but we had been communicating with the gate agent there. They didn't have a crew yet, so their flight time was actually planned for 2 a.m. And there, so we got a ticket. We got tickets for the 2 a.m. flight leaving to Kansas City out of Nashville. Waited there for a long, long time. The gate agent there. At that gate was probably the best person. I can't remember her name. The best person. About every 5 minutes, gave as much of an update as possible to everybody as far as what exactly we were missing, what we were looking for. Was singing, was super hopeful, telling jokes, like, had a Christmas outfit on, everything to make sure that we felt, as comfortable and as hopeful as possible. But essentially, they were missing, they had pilots. They were missing a flight attendant crew for this. So what they were doing, they were hoping that the flight attendant crew from Vegas, who was going to come into Nashville, they had to be in Kansas City already tomorrow, that next day anyway. And so they said if they can just hop on, if they can find hotel arrangements, and if they accept the flight is the term they use, then we'll get you guys out of here. So it turns out that the flight attendant crew could not be officially communicated with until they landed in Nashville from Vegas to accept the flight or not. And so when they landed,
and at that point, they're already working 10 hours or more that day.
I'm sure. So at that point, we don't know if they accepted the flight or not, but they said over the intercom that they are waiting to hear if they can get hotel accommodations in Kansas City or not for the flight crew. If they couldn't, and I think Southwest only has a handful of hotels that they partner with.
Well,
because that was the case in Nashville. People next to us, left and right, were. They said the gate agents to the people who were, thank goodness we live here and could make other arrangements. But people who did not live in Nashville, Southwest, the hotels that they partner with were all booked up. Literally, they couldn't give anybody hotels, because it was full. I mean, it's Christmas time in Nashville. Everything is full. And so I really don't know what these people did. I really don't.
Typically, what I've seen in the past with hotels I work with or have worked with is a flight company will buy X amount of rooms each night for their crews. So that could be 3 rooms per hotel or 2 rooms per hotel. But if the crew doesn't get there in time, they release that room to open up to another individual couple.
And I'm sure it was so late because it was 2 a.m. at this time.
Yeah, and
it was already 2 a.m. when they were like, we're trying to find a hotel for these people.
Yeah,
and if we can't, then there's no flight.
Yeah, and at that point, it's from a business standpoint in the hotel, you're already in the next business day.
Yeah, I'm sure they released it.
And so they had to release it at that point so they can make revenue for that night prior. And so it's...
But the weird thing is, and I kind of understand this, they probably can't be in contact with the flight crew while they're in the air to make those arrangements because that would compromise their job on the airplane. They may be distracted.
But I
get that, but you think they'd
employee app saying, "Hey, do you want to take this?"
Or you'd think somebody would be working behind the scenes already to try and get the hotel, but they couldn't get the hotel accommodations until they accepted the flight. They couldn't accept the flight until they landed in Nashville, and then they couldn't get the hotel rooms, which meant the flight was canceled, and the airport. We were leaving the airport at around 2:30, 2:45. The interesting thing is these customer service lines, we were sitting right beside one, and people had been waiting for, I'd say 3 or 4 hours. Like, these people barely moved in the 4 hours that we sat there waiting for this flight. And
what was it, 10,000 or more flights? Southwest flights were canceled over a 3-day period.
Yeah, give or take. And these people who are waiting in the customer service line, like, imagine you were in the back and you got to like 3 or 4 spots from there. You spent 3 or 4 hours doing that.
But
so here's the thing. Legally, these gate agents had to leave. Yes. Or these Southwest attendants had to leave. They have to clear the airport for a sweep, for security sweeps.
Yes.
So all the people who had waited 4 hours then were told, we can't service you anymore. You're going to have to call the 1-800 number. Nobody answered. And they said you're going to have to go to the ticketing
counter
for that. People were mad.
Of course.
People were yelling.
Of course.
There was cursing. There was all of it.
Yep.
And like these Southwest people, they wanted to help. Everybody who was in Southwest on the ground floor
Yes.
wanted to help,
But
legally
systems,
there were
yep.
so many things that they couldn't do.
Yep.
They were timed out. There's so many things that had to happen for them to
Yep.
do their job correctly. That was insane. And so, but they had to have like TSA or somebody come and tell them and pull the Southwest agents had to physically just like get them out of there.
Yeah.
Because they were still trying to do their jobs, but they legally could not do anything anymore. And so, but these people who would wait 3-4 hours then had to go to this line for the Southwest ticketing office in the front. I think there were over 500 people in that line on Christmas night at 3 a.m. 500 people waiting to talk to a Southwest employee.
Is that the point where because there was this video surfacing of a police officer saying, "Hey, you have to leave"?
No, so that was another day. So there's actually
another day.
If you want to pull up some of the
I need to plug in my computer first.
some of the
Hold on.
tweets. So there's a tweet, and BNA has actually deleted one of them. So go to this. Go to the first tweet right there.
Okay.
And the BNA actually deleted one of the tweets. Oh, that was a Southwest tweet. Let me see if I can add this one in here. Did I delete it? No. Okay. Let me add this in here. And we'll see. Because BNA released a statement and on this. And so this was not the day of Christmas. This was like a day after Christmas or so.
It was retweeted December 30th, it looks like.
So it was retweeted then because they deleted it. So many people had screenshot it. I think it was originally the 26th or the 27th, most likely the 27th. So BNA released this, and they since deleted. The Department of Public Safety at Nashville International Airport works to ensure the safety of all passengers throughout the airport. Unfortunately, the recent winter weather disruption. So this is kind of what people on the outside were seeing, and what I don't know why BNA would have said winter weather disruptions, because definitely was not
at that point. Though, yeah.
Yes, it was staffing and everything. That may have spurred from winter weather like days ago, but it wasn't the current issue. Winter weather disruptions have brought operational challenges to airlines and airports across the country, leading to flight delays and cancellations. With a high number of flights impacted at BNA on Sunday evening, travelers were asked to visit the pre-security ticket counters for help to rebook flights. Like, that's the thing. They were asked, hey, you got to go back to the ticketing office. We're closed. Southwest Airlines personnel contacted the Airport Communication Center asking that a police officer be dispatched to C Concourse, Gate C7 and 9, to escort passengers to the pre-security ticketing counters. We understand and appreciate the frustrations travelers may have, and we are working to provide the best passenger experience for all. So click out of this tweet, and you'll see the updated tweet that they had to do there. So it's that long one right there. And let's zoom into this so we can kind of see this one at a time. So basically, it says the same thing almost. But it says there is an unfortunate incident involving a passenger airline staff and a BNA officer. We're deeply sorry that this has occurred and have taken the situation to heart. We are working with Southwest Airlines and our other carriers to foster better communication among team members so that every traveler enjoys the optimal experience at BNA. Blah 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 blah. And yeah, so I mean that's basically, they tweeted out there was an incident where, I mean, I'm a firm believer, if you got to send an officer, you got to send an officer.
Yeah.
Like, people are going to be
course.
mad, and you got to protect the safety of that airport. Don't apologize for that. Like, I was there in the middle of the frustration. I understand it. And if somebody's going to be frustration to the point where you're feared for somebody's safety, don't apologize for sending an officer.
Yeah. The interesting thing is this tweet thread. Yeah, it said in this tweet, and I don't know if this is true, Nashville police have made 4 trespass arrests since the "I Will Arrest You" video surfaces, showing an officer making threats to Southwest Airline passengers.
So I haven't seen what video this is. I need to. We'll check this out. We'll check out the video and see what this is all about in a little bit. But so anyway, the 3 a.m. flight was canceled. There was no way, because my fiance Chelsea and I were trying to make it to Kansas City. We said there's absolutely no way that, because there was supposed to be an inch of snow on the ground the next day. And so we said, no flight's going to leave tomorrow. So we're not even going to try to rebook. We're going to get some sleep. Luckily, we have a place to stay in Nashville. And we don't have to worry about all that rebooking stuff or trying to find a hotel. Look, we can go to bed and then go out the next day and just drive, and we'll cancel our flights. So that's what we did. And we drove. There's going to be a storm up in St. Louis. Normally it goes St. Louis, Kansas City. There's going to be like a storm in Paducah and all that stuff. Yeah. So we went Memphis, which is great. Got to go in the Bass Pyramid for the first time.
Nice.
The Kansas City, Kansas University KU football team was in there at the same time as we were as well, because they had a bowl game there. So that was cool.
Nice.
I got to eat at Wahlburgers while I was there. Super unimpressed.
Yep.
Such a big hype for mediocre food.
Yeah.
And, and then went to Little Rock, stayed in a little town called Fort Smith, Arkansas.
Mm-hmm. Is that the one that's been completely renovated and all this stuff with high-end shopping?
Not that I'd seen there, but didn't get the chance to drive around too much. We stayed at a really nice Wyndham.
Nice.
For like $92.
That's not bad.
Which is incredible. It's like it was a very, very nice hotel so it didn't really fit like the theme of the town because it was really nice. But and then drove into Kansas City on a Tuesday, so the 27th, checked in Kansas City because we were told if your bags have MCI Kansas City's call tags on there, that's where they're going to go. So we're like, cool, we'll stop in Kansas City and see if that's where our bags. So immediately, once we got in there, went to the airport. We called the airport to say, hey, how's the Southwest line? Because that's the only person who we're going to get through is the actual airport. They literally just said, hold on 1 second, let me look. Look, took a little peek. That's how small their airport is.
Yeah.
And they said, it doesn't look too bad. Great. We got there, went to the baggage line. Waited 15 minutes or so, and they said, it looks like it's still in Nashville. It should be on its way. No more than 24 hours. But if you come and pick it up, we'll give you a good amount of Southwest Airline credit for coming and doing that.
Yeah.
Great. Sounds good. Just give us a call when it's there. They said, it shouldn't be more than 24 hours. Perfect. Got in the Southwest line to actually then go cancel our flights. Mm-hmm. That's how bad it is when it is easier to travel to several states over and go inside of their airport to cancel your flight that was happening out of Nashville than it would have been to do it in a Nashville.
Yep.
In the Nashville airport. That's how bad it was.
Yep.
The ticket agent was amazing. Got our flight canceled. Got some more Southwest credit for just everybody being awesome humans, and we got to have everything canceled and waiting on our bags. So didn't hear anything. 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, 96 hours. Didn't hear anything for the entire duration of the trip. New Year's Day, we traveled, started our drive back, stopped by the airport on the way out, and lines were not. There was nobody there. Literally, nobody was there on New Year's Day. And we said, hey, wanted to check on our bags. They said, okie dokie. And they said, looks like they're still in Nashville. They said, it's been so bad that Southwest is just essentially buying out these semi-trucks and taking everybody's baggage from like Nashville to these individual airports on semi-trucks.
Yep.
So they said, it could be on the semi-truck. We don't know.
Yep.
When I've flown Delta, they let you know your bags are at Southwest. Southwest, that's not a thing.
Yeah, because there's so many bags.
Yeah, and so we drove back to Nashville in the same day. Got at B&A at like 6:30 or something, 6:37. Baggage claim line was insanely long. I think we waited for about an hour and a half in that line. And it's just normal baggage claim people. So you would think, and at that point, we don't know. Like, we don't know if it's still in Nashville. We don't know if we're going to have to stand there for 20, 30, 45 minutes and submit receipts. So we don't know, how long this is going to take. We don't even know. You would think that there's a better system that they could have used. Like, hey, here's a little temporary desk we've set up to say, hey, can we just check and see if it's here so we're not wasting our time?
Yeah.
and then we can help everybody else who we know's bags are here and to get them taken care of. So it's just the most inefficient thing I've seen in a long time. And so about an hour passes by, we get our bags. They do have them. They were still in the Nashville airport. They never left. They were just sitting in a section labeled for Kansas City.
Was it just like a pyramid of bags on top of bags?
Thankfully, no. Like they were in an area that was mainly their cargo. Like we couldn't see it.
Yeah.
There were a few big bags outside of there that I think were ready for people to pick up who had, I don't know if they had like requested, I don't know, but luckily all of our bags were there. Now, because we were told in the Kansas City airport, when you get to Nashville, have all your receipts ready for your travel expenses, and they'll just write you a check there. We get there and they're like, no, we don't do that. And they said, Southwest has made this new portal where you have to submit everything through now. So, and so luckily, bags in hand. Travel expenses not yet reimbursed for, but
they'll cover it.
Hopefully everything's covered.
Yep.
But we're still waiting on that. Don't know the window of time in which everything is.
It's probably going to take 3 months.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's a big difference between here's a check that we can write here. They said at the ticketing at the baggage claim office, they said we just don't have enough checks. To give out is the issue, and why they've done it. We've had so many scams, all that stuff.
Yep.
That's
and then it has to go through all their accounting departments. It has to go through the process.
It has to be approved by a supervisor if it's a certain amount.
Yeah, it's going to take a little bit to get your money back.
Yeah,
but so I think they will honor that, because if not, they would be bankrupt as a company.
Yeah. They know they messed up. A lot of system errors in the process. A lot of according to a lot of the sources on there. This old Southwest systems, and we were talking about this before the show, where they just really have an antiquated system of dealing with this stuff.
Yeah, and now in a year they will not.
Yeah,
they guarantee. If I was this company and I went through all of this, I would make changes as fast as possible.
Yeah. So,
but the question is, Aaron, will you use Southwest Airlines once your credit is expired?
Once the credit, I have it. So I have a year to use the credits that they gave. Not to book, but to actually fly.
Yes.
And so after I use it, I don't want to. I'll definitely use the credit, but I don't want to. And here's the only reason is if you have to, that was the worst part about it, is there were no answers to be had. So if you needed help by Southwest and you needed something other than a basic answer, you actually couldn't get any basic answers, because it was hours and hours and hours and hours and hours to talk to somebody. I've heard that people still the phones are just dead. Yeah. When you call Southwest, that 1-800 number, it's just dead.
Well, I even read some stories. I think it was on Reddit, which is a cesspool. But that there was flight attendants trying to figure out where in the world they were going this next week, and they were on the hold for up to 24 hours.
Yeah.
To get a response. So
yeah, it's just basic information.
Yeah.
To just not have an answer for is one of those things where you don't realize how much that's needed until you don't have it. Because there are so many advantages to why people do fly Southwest. Even in all the crud that Southwest is going through, there are so many loyal Southwest fans in the Twitter threads that are like, well, if I can put my bags for free, I'm flying with them every time. Yeah. Or if I can, do this or that, I'm flying with them every time. So there's a lot of diehard Southwest fans, and I get it. They're always cheaper.
Yeah, and I will continue to use Southwest because all of my points are through Southwest.
Right. So they have a lot of things going for them.
Yeah.
But the one thing that they do have going for them don't have going for them is pretty big. So let us know your story of Southwest and or your holiday travel debacles. If you have had any issues And let us know in the comments what your problems have been. Have they been solved? Are you still on hold with Southwest from the holidays? Let us know in the comments. See you tomorrow. Thank you for listening to Nashville Daily.
To learn more about today's episode, visit NashvilleDailyPodcast.com. And to stay connected, head to our Discord and you can find the link at NashvilleDailyPodcast.com/connect. Nashville Daily is now offering tours. If you would like to take a tour of downtown Nashville, head to the link in the show notes or find out more details at NashvilleDailyPodcast.com.
Nashville Daily Podcast is an Explore.Nash production, copyright 2022.